Hello friends, thank you for watching this video. I am Mohamad and today we're going to be creating something really exciting. Have you ever wondered how we can actually create a minimal API application or any .NET application from a Docker file? So today, utilizing HereDocs, we're going to be actually building a minimal application or basically minimal API application inside a Docker file. So we're going to have one Docker file. Inside of it, we're going to be creating our .NET code and we're going to be able to run it and see it executed correctly. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. It will really help the channel. Now, let's jump into it. So, first of all, we're going to be creating a normal .NET application and we're going to be creating a minimal API out of that. And then once we do that, we can see the different files that we have, the different structure that we have, and then we're going to see how we can containerize it. And on the other side, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a single Docker file where we're going to be embedding all of that .NET application, the minimal API, into a single Docker file, and we're going to see how that how HereDocs will be able to help us actually minimize our minimal API and have a single file which is going to have basically our application as well as a Docker file for us to utilize. So let's get started. So first of all, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be just creating two terminals here and a terminal here. Perfect. So once we do that, the next step for us is on the right hand side, we're going to be creating our .NET application. So we're going to put .NET new web API dash minimal, and we're going to give it a name sample API. And this should create for us a new minimal API project. Let's give it a few seconds. Creating. Perfect. And now we can see here that we have we have our project and we have basically our program.cs which contain everything for us, which is a very simple and easygoing minimal API. So we can see here that all of this has been created for us out of the box. Although this is a useful minimal API, but we can see here that it contains a lot of basically information that basically is like a added value. If we really want to have a very simple minimal API, we can basically minimize this into 3 lines of code. So let's try to do that. So first of all, we need the builder. We don't really need these, we don't really need these, we don't really need these. Oh, we need this one, so we remove this. And we don't need this. We need this one. We're just gonna say for now hello, and we're gonna basically return all this we don't really need. Okay, let's remove this one as well. We don't need that. We need this one and we don't need this one. Okay. Oops. Okay. So let's fix this a bit. So now basically with 4 lines of code, this one here we need to add a message, so we'll add it right now. So let's say here, after I create a minimal API, I want to return hello world. I think it could be here without the curly brackets, and we'll just make it like this, and without this one. And now we have our minimal API. So we can see here with just as simple as 4 lines of code, we have our minimal API up and running. So let's try this out. So let's go here. Let's first do a build, .NET build. You can see it's building. Perfect. If we do .NET run, we can see it's running and it's running on port. Let's copy it. So now let's open our web browser. It should take a few seconds. Okay. So let's add it here and we're just gonna add hello. And now we can see that we got hello world. So right now let's say hello world from minimal API. Let's save this and let's stop the application and run it again. Great, now let's refresh this and we should see hello from minimal API. Perfect. So now we can see here within 4 lines of code, basically we were able to have a fully running minimal API, and basically we were able to actually run it directly within 4 lines of code. So the goal right now is to actually utilize one Docker file, and basically from one .docker file, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating our entire application. And that might sound a bit strange, but this is what we're going to be doing. So on the left hand side here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to create a new file, and it's going to be a Docker file. And within this Docker file is actually the steps that we're going to be adding, or basically it's going to take all of the code in order for us to have a minimal API, Docker image, and we're going to be running that image. So let's see how we're going to be doing that. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to define like a syntax. So syntax, and here we're just going to, because it says experimental, we're just going to specify a version which is going to be 1.4, which is fine. So once we have done that, as we do always, whenever we have an API based or a Docker file based on .NET, what we need to do is put Docker Hub .NET SDK, because we want to utilize that. So let's come here, and if we scroll a bit down, we should be able to see this URL here. So let's copy this one, and here what we're gonna is from, and we're gonna give this one as build dash environment. So as I'm sure all of you knows, when we're doing, or basically when we're building our Docker application, we need to have like an empty box, or basically we need to base our image on a different image. And that image currently that we're basing it on is basically the .NET 6 image, and we're utilizing the SDK, and basically we're tagging that image with a build environment. Everything right now should be fairly simple. So once we have done that, the next step is we need to specify a work directory. A work directory mean here is that we're specifying a folder inside our this Docker image. So once we have done that, now the actual work's gonna start. So if we take a look at this application here, so in essence, what do we really need to have a minimal API? All we need is basically two files. The first file is gonna be the sample API .cs approach, which is basically gonna contain all of the different information that we're gonna be needing. And we're gonna need the program.cs. These are the only two files which are required in order for us to have a minimal API. All of the rest we don't really need. So right now what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be creating these two files inside our Docker file, and then once we created them, we're gonna be actually be able to run our application. So let's see how we're gonna be utilizing that. So because we're gonna be utilizing the HereDocs in order for us to be able to do that within a Docker file, we need to basically utilize the HereDocs command. So let's see how that's gonna work. So first of all, because if we think about it, in a normal Docker application, what we're doing is we're copying files from our application, from our local directly to this new Docker image. So the command that we're gonna be utilizing in order for us to do that is basically what we're gonna be utilizing. It is the command copy, which is, it means that we're going to be copying from a temporary location where this file is going to be created to that Docker image. So, and because HereDocs right now is going to be stored in a temporary file when we're building that image, so it makes sense that we're utilizing the keyword copy inside our Docker file. So it's going to be copy. And basically, again, because we're utilizing the HereDocs, so how do we specify a new file inside of it? So it's going to be less than is going to be EOF, and then we're going to be giving it the file a name, and we're going to be calling it demo.csproj, and we're going to be closing it, and then we're going to be filling it in the middle. So right now what we did is we're telling our Docker file that you need to create a temporary file inside your memory where we're going to put all of these commands in. And basically, once we input this file, it's gonna save it temporarily in this. It's gonna save it in this temporary memory that we have. So in our case, it's gonna create a new file called demo.csapproach. It's gonna save it in the temporary memory of this Docker file, and we're gonna actually execute a command against it once it's finished. So we can see here that we're utilizing the EOF commands. Basically, we're initializing it and we're closing it here. And we're specifying that it's going to be demo.csapproach. So what does the csapproach file here contain? So if we look here at the sample.api, we can see a csapproach file is very simple. Basically, it contains the project, and basically property group and the target frameworks. So this is what we're going to be utilizing in order for us to have our own CS approach file up and running. So first of all, we're going to be specifying the project, the SDK, and we're going to be telling it it's going to be Microsoft.net.sdk.web. And we're going to be closing that, and we're going to be closing it here. So once we have done that, the next step, if we can take a look here, we need to specify the property group. So let's specify a property group here. So here we're going to put a property group, as well as close this property group. Perfect. So now inside our property group, what do we need to specify? Our target framework. Target framework. And we're gonna be closing this target framework. And inside of it, we're gonna be specifying it's gonna be .NET 6.0. So right now, basically, if we only put that, we have our CS project ready. But let's add more information similar to what we have here. We're gonna add the nullable. And we're gonna make it true, or basically enabled. Enable, and we're gonna put the implicit contained as well. Implicit usings. So once we have done that, we're also really gonna enable it. So now we can see we have basically the same CS approach file here and there. So what do we do once we copy our CS approach? What we need to do is we need to restore it in order for us to restore our packages. So that's next. So how do we restore it? We run, and basically we run the network.net command .net restore. So let's just take a quick recap on this. So what did we do here? We basically specified the syntax version, and then basically what we did is we specified a base image. We created a folder inside this base image. Then we utilized the HereDocs to create a temporary file inside our memory. We called it demo.cs approach, and then basically we defined the information for our project, which is demo.cs approach, and basically we specified the SDK, the target framework, nullable, implicit using, all of that. And once it's finished, we just closed it. And the next step is basically what we did here is we just specified the .NET restore. Perfect. So now that we have our first file there, which is going to be the sample API.cs approach, or basically the CS approach file, the second file that we need to create is in essence the program.cs. So let's create this right now. So we're going to put copy, again similar, EOF, and we're going to call it program.cs. And let's close it. Perfect. So now we have we're basically creating another temporary file inside our memory, and we're calling this temporary file program.cs, which is basically going to contain all of the information that we're going to be needing in order for us to run our minimal API. So once we have done that, what do we want to have inside our minimal.cs? So let's see here. So we can see here that our minimal.cs file is basically 4 lines of code, and we're going to be basically getting this file 4 lines of code here. So first of all, we need a builder. So var builder equal web application dot create builder, and we're gonna pass the args. Perfect. The second step is var app equal builder dot build, and then the last thing, not the last thing, app. Basically, we need to get an endpoint, which is gonna be map get, and we're gonna just say / hello, and we're gonna be returning the message. And we're gonna say, hi there from Docker file, I don't know. And basically once we do that, all we need to do is just add a semicolon. And lastly, what we're gonna be doing is we're just gonna put app.run. So right now, basically what we're doing here is we're just taking the same file that we have here, but we're creating it, or we're adding it to the temporary file that Docker is going to be creating for us. So first we created our web builder, web application.create builder. The next step is we actually built it, so builder.build, and then basically we created our first endpoint. We can create multiple endpoints, so let's try to add another one. For example, app.map get, and let's say for example world or for example, let's put formula or team LH, and for example, we can say 7-time world champion. And basically now we have two endpoints, and in essence currently if we take a look at it, we basically have the two files that we need to have a minimal API. We have the CS approach file ready for us, and we have our program.cs. So what's left? What's left is basically just to build this application, to publish it, and basically once we do that, we need to put it into a production ready image, and then we can run it and expose some ports. So let's do that. So first we need to publish it, so we're going to put .NET publish and get -c, and we're going to put in release mode, and we're going to specify it inside an out folder. As simple as that. So inside that image that we created here, which is going to be called a build environment, we're publishing this application into this folder here. Very normal, very simple. If we run this right here, let us open it in a new environment. If we run this, the same thing, so .NET publish -c, we're gonna put release, and -o, we'll put out, and if we click on enter, oh sorry, okay, let's run this again. So now we should see a folder here called out with basically the published version of our application, we can see here. And if we open it, we can see that we have all of our DLLs and everything that we need is basically inside. So that's what this command does. It basically publishes the application to the most simplistic version possible. So the next step is basically now we need to have another version of basically another base image so we can copy everything to it. So we're gonna put from, and let's copy all of this instead of trying to copy it again. That's this one. So save a bit of time of typing. And instead of utilizing the SDK, we're just going to be utilizing the ASP.NET version, which is a much more smaller version. We can utilize the SDK, there's no harm, but this way we'll make our Docker image a bit smaller. And the first thing is we need to expose some port. So the first port we're going to expose is port 80, and the other one we're going to expose is port 443. So one is going to be for HTTP, the second one is going to be for HTTPS. So once we have done that, the next step is we need to specify a work directory. So similar to what we have done before, it's going to be /app. And once we have done all of that, all we need to do is copy the published folder from the build environment to the new folder, and then we should be able to actually specify an entry point. So how do we do that? We're going to be utilizing the Docker commands. So it's going to be copy. We're going to utilize it from, and it's going to be from build-environment. So if we take a look here, this is the exact image that we have here, and we're telling it that we need to copy from that image. We can see it build environment here. So basically what we're telling it is you need to copy everything, whatever we need from this image to a new image that we have created. And basically we're telling it that you need to go to the app folder, and then you need to go to the out, and you need to copy it to our root folder inside our new image. So here we're specifying from which image it needs to copy, and here we're telling it that from which folder inside this image. So as we can see here, that inside this image we have a folder called app, and we have published everything we want into an out folder. So we're telling it that we need to the app directory inside this image, and you need to copy everything from the out folder, and you need to copy it everything to the root directory of this image. If we want to make it a bit easier and less confusing, we can call this dev, and if we go here, we can make this dev, and this should work as well. So we can copying everything from our build environment to our published one. And once we have specified all of that, the next step is we need to specify an entry point. And basically, if we want to run a .NET application, we need to specify the keyword .NET, and then we need to specify the DLL. And since we have saved the application name as demo.ts approach, the DLL that's going to be generating is going to be called demo.dll. And basically that's it. So now we have an entire Docker file which contain a minimal API, and basically in 32 lines of code we were able to create all of that. We created an application, we created the Docker file, all of it inside a single file, which is amazing. So now let's see how this is gonna work. So first of all, we need to create an image. So it's gonna be Docker build, and we're gonna tag it. We're gonna call it demo minimal, and we're just gonna build it. So let's wait for it to build. So we can see it's going through the normal build process, and it gave us an error. Let's see what's the error. I think because we did not put .NET here in capital letters, so let's try this. No, so let's save this and let's see if this is gonna solve our problems. No, still no luck. So let's change this to app. Just so we can try it. It could be something related to that. And let's put app here. And let's try to build it again. Okay, let's see what's the issue. So now it's having problem with the publish. Okay, so it's already copying it correctly, which is great. Now we need to figure out why is it having a problem with the publish. So it's saying that the publish, it's unable to find it. Specify which project. Basically similar error to what before. So let's see how we can fix this. Okay, so just reading this again, I realized here I put CS proj instead of CS. So let's try this again. It's perfectly, it's publishing the application, and I spoke too early. Let's see what's the error. So it's telling us that the build is inaccessible. Okay, maybe we have a problem here. So var builder, let's compare it. Maybe I made some kind of a typo. This is one of the downsides here, is we don't have IntelliSense to correct us if we're wrong. So let's see it. So we have var builder, which is fine. Web application.create builder, and we're passing args. So let's copy this. And let's put it here. Perfect. And then basically we have var app builder.build. Here it needs to be a capital B. So this is a small thing that IntelliSense will be able to help us. So let's try to do this build again. Perfect, it built the image for us. It was all just minimal typos, and here we can see that we have a Docker image and it's ready for us to utilize, which is called demo minimal. Okay, so let's try to run this Docker image. So we're gonna put Docker run demo minimal. We're gonna specify the port, and we're gonna basically port 8090 to port 80, and yeah, we should run it like this. So I think let's change one thing. So first we need to specify the port, and then we need to specify the image. Demo minimal. Okay, let's run this. Okay, so we can see now the application is running. So let's try to access it. So if we can see here that we have specified the port 8090. So let's go to our web browser, and we're gonna open a new tab, and we're gonna put localhost, and we're gonna go to port 8090. And then if we take a look here at the endpoints that we currently have, we're gonna have the first one, hello. So we should see here, hi there, from a Docker file, perfect. And if we put here team LH, we should see 7-time world champion. Okay, champion, it has wrong. Champion, 7-time world champion. Okay, so let's basically fix this error here, but we can see here that in essence we were able first to create from a single Docker file, we were able to create an application, a minimal API. We were able to basically specify our CS proj, and then basically we were able to create the program.cs, and once we have done that, we were able to basically publish it and release it. Okay, great. So you might take a look at this and you were like, okay, this is very cool. But why do we want to do this? So one of the main goals of minimal APIs is to basically minimalize as much as we can to create a web application and have it ready for production. And we can see here that instead of having 2 files as well as a Docker file, if we're going to publish the normal .NET application here, we can have all of this in a single file, and that's very powerful. The main downside that we can find here is we don't have IntelliSense to help us correct any syntax error that we might find. So it took us a bit of time to figure out the syntax error, but other than that, it's a very easy way for us to get up and running, to have a minimal API inside a Docker image ready to go directly. So basically, I hope this video helped. It gave you at least a bit of introduction about HereDocs and how we can actually utilize them inside of Docker, and how we can actually basically build amazing solutions within a single file within Docker. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and please, if you didn't subscribe already, please subscribe and like. It will really help the channel. Have a great day.